Hi guys, welcome back to another Cook Together with me, Ben, here at Inox Dine. Today we are going to be cooking a vegan sausage roll. Similar to last week and previous weeks before that, you have a recipe card in your packs with the ingredients that should be weighed out for you correctly, and a list of equipment that you will need before you start the session today. So starting off, we're going to crack on with all the mise en place, which is the preparation of our work. So we're going to get everything prepped before we actually start any of the cooking process. So quite a lot of chopping involved today, guys. So first off, I'm going to start with my spring onions / leeks. So all I'm going to do here is I'm going to chop it down lengthways like that. I do that with all these. In your packs you should just have half a leek. I unfortunately don't have one today, so I'm using baby leeks instead. So once you've cut them in half like that, you just need to give them a quick rinse, because leeks are generally grown in sand, which will tend to get a bit of grit in there. So all I'm going to do is going to wash them out. Give them a shake off, going to get all that water out. Once they're washed, all we're going to do here is we're going to chop them nice and finely. So using that clawed finger, just going to slowly dice them up. We will run through these again later. So taking your time, moving your hand back so you can chop it with the knife. Taking your time. Obviously, the more confident you get, the faster you can go. Keeping it nice and fine. Obviously, we'll take it right down to the nub at the end, and then we'll get discard of that. So I'm happy with the amount I've got there. All I'm going to do now is I'm just going to run my knife through it, just to get those a little bit finer. Nothing there. Once you're at that stage, that is the fine chopping of our leeks. That's just going to go back into our pot. Now that's chopped, guys, we're just going to move on to the chopping of our chestnut mushrooms. But just make sure you give yourself a clean down in between each section. Wipe my board. So, chopping of our chestnut mushrooms. Just make sure you've got no mud on there. If you've got any mud on there, just give them a quick rinse and then dry them off quickly, because mushrooms are mostly water. So we're just going to give them a quick rinse. So they've been rinsed. All we're going to do with these, guys, is we're literally just going to get them as fine as we possibly can. So start off by slicing your mushrooms, keeping the stems on as well, so you can use those as well. So, well, they're all sliced, and what I'm going to do is run my knife through them until they become real and super fine. Just using that seesaw motion with your hands, running the blade through it. Once we're there, guys, I'm going to pop it back into our bowl. And that's our mushrooms chopped. Next we're going to chop our garlic. So just give yourself a clean down. So, garlic. Similar to most weeks, just got 1 clove this time, guys. Knife on the garlic flat, just give it 1 firm push down till you break it, and then the skin should just peel off nicely like that. Take that top off, and then finally slice it again using that clawed hand. Again, we're just going to run through this, make it into a puree. So if you joined us last week, you would have seen me make this into a puree. So I'll show you again. Just run your knife through it quite quickly. Scraping it off the blade, away from the blade. Scrape it all up into a pile. Bit of salt on there, draw some of the moisture out of the garlic. Leave that for about 20 seconds, just for the salt to work its way through that. And then just run the knife through it again. Knife flat onto the board, just rub that blade over the garlic. Now that's puree, guys, I'm just going to put it back into that pot. Skin it. For later. Move the board over, nice clean side. We're just going to roughly chop the chestnuts and the sage as well. So you can do this together, guys. Chestnuts there, and the sage there. So just roughly chop your knife through the sage. Like so, it doesn't need to be fine or anything. Just you still want a bit of texture through there. So that'll do for me on the sage as well. The chestnuts, just finely slice those, just like you did the mushrooms. Run your knife through those. You can chop the sage through there if you want. I still want a bit of texture of these nuts through the sausage roll, so I'm going to leave it at that. I'll pop that back into my pot. And now, guys, we're actually on to the cooking part. So in the pan at the moment, I've got a nice generous splash of oil in there, just coming up to the heat nicely there. So, pan nice and hot. We'll throw in the leeks. Sweat them down for 30 seconds or so. Next, I'm going to throw in the mushrooms and get some of that moisture out. Cook them out. Splash a bit more oil in there. It's coming a bit of a dry pan at the moment, so sweating them onions and mushrooms down. Next, guys, I'm just going to add the chestnuts and the sage. Get some of that flavour of the sage out there. Next, I'm going to add the garlic. Stir that through. Next, I'm just going to add a bit of the miso paste. Teaspoon. I'm also going to add my mustard. And a pinch of salt as well. A bit of seasoning in that. Cook that out for about 2 minutes just so that some of the more moisture comes out of the mushrooms. Once there's a bit of liquid in the bottom of that pan, we're just going to throw in the breadcrumbs just to bind it all together. A bit of moisture in there. I'm just going to throw in my breadcrumbs. Mix them through. It starts to bind it together. And that's about done there, guys. So that's the product you're looking for. I'm just going to put that onto a tray, into the fridge for about half an hour just to cool down, and then we can actually crack on with the rolling of our sausage roll. Right guys, so my mix has now been chilling for about 10 to 15 minutes. It's now actually, I can actually handle it. So I've got my pastry sheet ready, and all I'm going to do is going to roll this into a sausage like it is in there. I'm just going to move it over onto the pastry to a nice little log. Press it down so it's all the mixtures come together. What we're going to do here, guys, is we've got some soy milk here. I'm just going to egg wash, or soy wash should I say, the bottom, all around the bottom of the pastry, just so it will stick together. And I'm just going to roll the sausage mix over, keeping it nice and compact together so that you get no air bubbles in there. So straight over, use your fingers and push down and just shape that sausage mix. Chop it off either end with your hands. Just shaping it into the sausage roll mix shape. All we're going to do now is we're going to tidy it up. So just going to take that end off. I'm going to take this end off. And we're also going to take that end off. So what you should have is something like that. Just giving it a final shape. We will trim it up again once we've got our fork. We're just going to press it all the way around. This obviously will just seal the pastry together so it doesn't open up when it's in cooking. And finally, just trim off the end pieces so it looks nice. And then we're going to move it over to a different tray, because you can't cook on this blue paper because it generally just sticks to the food that you're cooking on. Okay. Finally, we're just going to soy wash that with a bit of soy milk. I'm also going to give it a bit of spray. I mean, you won't have this at home, but I'm just going to give it a spray as well. And then, just to top it off, I'm just going to sprinkle some poppy seeds over the top. Now that's going to go into an oven at 200 degrees for about 15 to 20 minutes. So guys, this is the finished product of my vegan sausage roll. It's been in the oven for 20 minutes. With the sausage rolls, you can serve it how I'm going to serve it, or you could serve it into like thick chunks, and you could serve it on a buffet, for example, like if you were doing a New Year's Eve buffet. Perfect one for that. Or you could serve it as your lunch. You could serve it with some salad or potatoes or whatever tickles your fancy, really. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to take the ends off, because they're not really that great to eat. Some people absolutely love them. I'm not a massive fan. So in half, I'm going to chop it in half at an angle just because I like that presentation. In half at an angle, and that's our vegan sausage roll mix, all pretty much ready to go. I'm just going to serve it nicely on that. Look at that. And that, guys, is our vegan sausage rolls. I hope that you enjoy them, and I hope that you've taken some top tips away from today's session. And I'll look forward to seeing you next week. Cheers, guys.